welcome back, listeners and viewers. We're here with another episode of the Power of Nine podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Eggert. Today's guest designs and facilitates community-based experiences for shared learning, symbiotic support, and transformative building so individuals can thrive in their zones of genius. Let's get after it and share the journey of my friend, Liz Otteson. Liz, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Aaron. I'm very excited to be here.
I've been thinking about having you on, and our worlds have been blended over the last few years, and you finally came onto the team last year, so we'll dig into all that stuff. But you've got a unique background. I love the education aspect that you bring, and you're a Minnesota gal, and all of the things that I think people need to know about you. Plus, I think you're a little bit sleepy on, you're getting better, more and more pronounced on the LinkedIn, but you're a little sleepy on the LinkedIn. So this is a good opportunity to amplify your journey a little bit.
Yes, thank you so much. I love that. Yeah, I'm a little bit sleepy. I'm also, I would say, intentional. Like, I'm just
Uh,
conscious of how much is out there, and I
mhm,
want to be there in a very thoughtful
mhm.
conversation, prompting sort of way.
Yeah, you posted something the other day. So we're recording this on May 8th. So those of you that are on LinkedIn and want to snoop on Liz's LinkedIn profile, it'll be in the show notes, by the way. You posted some things both through your collab channel and your personal channel. And I got some good, to me, I think it's the interaction that happens in that and the thoughtfulness that happens in that. So true to form, you showed up in that way. Like I said, you don't do a ton, but you do enough to where it piques people's interest and it's intentional. And I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Good
All right.
feedback.
So let's dig in. Let's start to this journey. So the format of our podcast. I'd like to tell the journey from the get-go. So where were you born and raised, and paint me a little bit of a picture of growing up in your family and the family dynamics and all everything that goes along with that.
Certainly. Born in 1969. I'm
Oh.
dating myself intentionally in Minneapolis here. Lived near one of the lakes in the Twin Cities, and I grew up kind of in that hippie zone. We had a
Mm,
very freewheeling, kids run free neighborhood. And I have a sister who's just 19 months younger. So she has been with me through thick and thin and is my closest friend and ally and all of that. And our parents divorced when we were young. So I was 6, I believe. And then we navigated that blended family. Both my parents found new loves of their lives, and I had stepbrothers and stepsisters on each side. And that was challenging. Kind
mm,
of, the family that you're born into feels normal, and then you realize that there's new options of normal and kind of navigating your place in that. So that was challenging growing up.
so I one thing that I kind of experienced in growing up is that there's a realization as you mature that your parents are just people and they're trying to figure it out too, and everyone's got their opportunities, everyone's got their challenges. I think I figured that out maybe through because a little bit of naivete, maybe the way that I was brought up. And my parents divorced when I was 21, so I didn't have that all of a sudden slap upside the head. Did you feel like you were thrust into that a little bit more with through that divorce? Did that have that effect on you to where you're like, oh, this is real?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely do. And granted, like I was 10 when we moved in with my stepfather and step siblings, which meant like moving to a suburb, moving to a very different school, and all of that. And I think that's for me when it really
Mm,
kind of started to dawn on me that, yeah, parents are their own people, and everybody's just doing their best to figure it out. And for me, like that, it didn't come automatically, but over time, I would say through my adolescence, like learning to give people grace in
mm,
that became something that was really formative and has kind of
mm.
defined who I am as a person.
One of the things we always talk about is there's two major topics I like to touch base on that whether it be formally or informally, I'm going to make it a little bit more formally here, is both the nature versus nurture paradigm of like, how you're shaped as you are becoming human contributor to society, positive contributor to society, I mean. And then also to paradigm shifting events, right? That kind of flip your path. Now, I think you probably have had multiple, like other people as well, have had multiple paradigm shifting events. We'll get into that from a career standpoint a little bit later. But do you think that, with parents going through all of that, you having this realization and with all these different movements and things like that, that kind of maybe changed the dynamic of nature versus nurture, of where it became a little bit more of an emphasis on nurture because of all the different people that you had influences in your life?
Yeah, I think so. As an educator, I am fascinated by this question as well.
Hmm.
And it's such a blend. I've never encountered anybody who's completely on one or the
Hmm.
other. And
Hmm.
and for me, I always go to the question of, so each one has its gaps and has its strengths and has its shadows, right? So how do we complement that in the best way? But in terms of my own story, I would say definitely that nurture piece became really important. And as our family was going through dramatic changes, and I felt like I was at sea at times, really gravitating towards kind of models of families that felt more predictable, maybe,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
felt more nurturing for me and for what I needed in those places.
Hmm.
So, some of that is the nature of who I am
Hmm.
and relationships being really important. And some of that is then finding other ways for that nurturing. But yeah, I think one of the things that really impacted it for me that, you know, we grew up in a family that wasn't church going. My grandparents on my dad's side went, but that was about it. But when we moved to Edina, one of my first friends there invited me to camp for the summer. And I was like, this is great. I love camp. I had been to day camp, Camp Kichiapi, and that was awesome. So, yeah, sign me up. Well, I get there and we drive through the camp gates, and there's a cross up high on the sign. And I'm like, huh, okay. And we drive down, and the first place that you go to in the camp is into the chapel, and we file in pews. And I think I'd been in a church once, maybe twice before. And I'm like, okay, so this camp is at a church kind of thing. Cool. But the first night when we're playing Bible baseball, I was like, oh, this is not like I don't know anything about
Right.
anything. Like it might have been the first time the word Jesus came out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Um, and so like being in that
Yeah.
community and seeing love from that angle was a very nurturing and formative experience for me.
That's pretty
I survived.
fascinating. Yeah, and well, yeah, and did that actually have a profound effect on your faith journey? Like, did you lean into your faith from that point forward, kind of? Or
Yeah, from that point forward, I returned to camp the next summer
Hmm.
for sure. I
Cool.
had a
Yeah.
blast. And again, back to that word grace, like very gracious, loving leaders, counselors, peers who were like, hey, it's okay that you don't know anything about church. This is
Right.
actually kind of
That's
fun for
cool.
us, and very curious about how I was taking things in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it that launched my faith journey. And I ended up joining the church. My sister ended up joining the church with me, and did confirmation a couple years later than my peers. But that was an awesome experience, and grew up in that church, worked for that church, still attend that church. So
Yeah, good for you. I mean, I think, the communities come in all different shapes and sizes. And clearly you were at a point in your life where you needed just other community, new community. And boy, universe works in mysterious ways, whatever you believe in, whether it be whatever, something is conspiring for you. And it just happened to come at the right time where you needed it.
yeah,
Ah, I
yeah.
love it. I love it. So were you a good student? Like, all right, so you and your sister, best friends, BFFs, right? And still are, but yet I think there's a little bit of like my brother and I were very opposite. My brother was a very good student. I'm a dipshit. So like you got that a little bit of different personality conflict. And then also, he went to smart class, I went to dumb class. So like there was that. Were you a good student and did you excel at, I think I have to believe you became an educator, so you can't get along with just being average and then be an educator. I don't, maybe you can.
No, no, you can't. Some people think you
Okay. All
can,
right. All right.
but no, you can't. I I am a grade A plus school junkie and nerd, and
Shocker.
have been from the get-go. So we started at a school, granted, again, this is the early 70s, and my parents were kind of Montessori, a little
Mm,
hippie,
yeah.
and there was a new school program in North Minneapolis, which was about 15 minutes from where we lived. And it was the first time that they were busing students to desegregate schools. And it was an open program, which was a lot like Montessori. And my parents said, this sounds great. Forget the neighborhood school that's, 2 blocks away, and so we went. And for me, it was heaven because it was geared towards kids who loved school and wanted to chart their own path through it. So imagine in kindergarten, no report cards, call your teacher by their first name, sitting in a circle on the carpet. Like that was not necessarily how kindergarten looked. Now it's much more like that, but you got to pick out your books and move at your own
Yeah.
pace through math lessons and so forth. And that was the morning, and the afternoons were smorgasbord, where you could pick whatever your topic was, and join students of all ages in doing that. So it could be anything from creating flip books and filming them, like taking the still shots frame by frame and creating a little movie, to roller skating in the halls with the principal, to going and seeing slides of one of the teachers' trips to Ireland in the summer. And it instilled this curiosity in me that just kept growing. For my
Mm,
sister, who is a very different kind of learner and thrives more in structure, she had a good time. She did not learn much. That system did not
yeah.
serve her. And so when
Yeah.
we moved to Edina, that was challenging for her, to realize where she was and where she was supposed to be. And I say that with quotes as an educator for those who are listening, because we all have our own unique paths. And for me, the challenge in shifting schools was going from this very liberal, open, curiosity fed learning system to the rows and the columns and the calling teachers Mrs. Wood and
Hmm.
discipline and all of that, things that were just completely alien to me. But I
Yeah.
figured out in the new schooling environment, I figured out, well, it's just a different game. It's what is this teacher looking for? And for me, that puzzle of kind of translating between different scenarios became the real education challenge.
Yeah.
And I think that served me well too, going back to like the blended families, like
Yeah.
there's different rules, there's different expectations and cultures. So how do we figure out how to thrive as best we can in any environment?
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Tell me a little bit about the Big Ten rodent tour.
I can't believe this is not a big thing yet
I gotta
because
tell you, Liz, you shared that with me, and what a great way to kind of combine your college experience into a term that is so relatable. And I thought about it, I digested, I'm like, that is genius. So anyway, so let's let the listeners and viewers in on what the Big Ten rodent tour is.
And so this totally speaks to my personality. I geek out on finding a theme or a commonality in all things. So after doing well in college and saying, I don't want to be in Minnesota, I want to go to a big school. I knew that from the get-go. And I want to go someplace that will feel like a challenge and will open up horizons. And again, like a place where I can be curious. So I applied at 6 schools and only did one college visit. If you've got kids now, you know that that's a very alien thing. For
Yeah.
a lot of us, we enjoy the college visits as like an excuse to travel and all that. But I went to Michigan with 2 friends, and we went to a basketball game.
Yeah.
And after the first quarter, I was like, this is where I'm going. One,
Yeah.
lots of great people, two, amazing school spirit, and just lots of opportunities. So I loved Michigan. Because my parents were divorced and they were both depositing their portions of my tuition into my bank account, and I was making up for the rest. After I wrote that first semester tuition check, it was like, I still
Oof.
have this visceral reaction. It was just like, how am I going to make this happen? And the
Yeah.
bottom just falling out of my gut. And I was working and I had a couple small scholarships, but every time I thought about, like, I had calculated how much each class I was paying for. So no
Gotta
way did
do
I
it.
miss anything. Like
Yeah.
I was, yes. And by the time I got to about March, I was like, I don't think I can handle this pressure and this weight. So, which was really hard because I had great friends and I loved
Hmm.
it and had zero complaints. But my stepsister was a senior at Madison, and I had a couple of friends from school that were at Madison. And I thought, okay, what I really wanted was a big school with some school spirit. And Madison is a heck of a lot cheaper if you're from Minnesota and you've got the reciprocity. So I transferred to Madison. And the smartest thing that I did in that transferring was I moved right into the sorority house that I'd pledged at Michigan. So moved right in and created that, jumped into that community full throttle and lived there for the rest of my college experience because I was on the exec board.
Great.
So that was the Wolverines freshman year, and then the Badgers for the rest of undergrad. And then I graduated with a journalism major, worked in advertising after 3 years of work hard, play hard, stress hard. So that's not really the most life-giving path for me. I don't see myself like at 30 flourishing while I'm doing this. And so that's when the teaching bug that had kind of been nibbling at me for a long time finally
Cool.
chomped hard. And I went to the University of Minnesota, go Gophers,
Yeah.
and got my teaching license and eventually my master's there. So the Big Ten rodent tour.
We're gonna take a quick break here, listen to some of our community supporters to kind of send us out, and then we'll come back and we'll start on your career journey. Who would win in a cage match between the Wolverines, the Badgers, and the Gophers? Who would win in a cage match between those three?
Well, this is where I have to really think about their avatars or their mascots. And Michigan doesn't really have one. I would have to go with Bucky Badger between the a little more fierce and super funny Bucky, hands down.
Especially if it's a honey badger. I don't know if you know anything about honey badgers, but they will yeah, they're mean. They will mess some stuff up. So yeah, all right. I don't have any skin in the game. I'm a college dropout, so I could care
Yeah,
less.
there will be comments.
Yeah,
There will be comments.
you've gone to three more colleges than I have. So well, technically, but anyway. All right, let's take a quick break here. We're going to listen to a few of our community supporters that help make this thing happen, and then support our C9 community. And then we're going to hear a little bit more about Liz when we come back.
This podcast is supported in part by the Unscripted with FRAK podcast, formerly People Make It Possible. Join Kathy Robidoux and Chris Stardust as they sit down with top Minnesota business leaders to explore their paths to success. Gain insights, inspiration, and real leadership stories. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
United Healthcare is dedicated to helping people live healthier lives and making the health system work better for everyone by simplifying the healthcare experience, meeting consumer health and wellness needs, and sustaining trusted relationships with care providers. UHC is continually focused on building a modern, high-performing health system via improved access, affordability, outcomes, and experiences. With a network of over 1.6 million physicians and healthcare professionals in over 6,000 hospitals, United Healthcare is dedicated to connecting employers and their employees to better health by offering quality benefits designed for affordability. For more information, visit United Healthcare at www.uhc.com. United Healthcare, helping people live healthier lives.
Looking for an insurance partner who is as invested in your success as you are? Christensen Group is Minnesota's largest employee-owned independent insurance agency. Since 1952, we've been connecting businesses and individuals with tailored expertise and solutions to manage risk and protect what matters most. Ready to get ahead of your risk? Call Christensen Group today at 952-653-1000. Christensen Group Insurance, because better tomorrows start with thoughtful todays. Leading a growing organization means knowing when to bring in strategic expertise. At All-in-One Accounting, we understand that your financial needs evolve as you scale. We're more than just accountants. We're trusted partners who align our expertise with your vision, driving sustainable growth through expert financial leadership. From day-to-day bookkeeping to high-level strategy, we help you grow profitably, protect your assets, and amplify your impact. Consider us your partner for both immediate financial clarity and long-term strategic success. Connect with us at allinoneaccounting.com.
The topic of talent is hot in organizations of any size, and I would argue none more than small to mid-sized businesses. That's why it's crucial to have a partner to help you navigate all the HR idiosyncrasies so you can focus on working on your business and not in it. Insperity is a full-service HR partner with a high-touch, high-tech platform helping owners work through challenges like employee retention, company culture, and benefits, just to name a few. Do yourself a favor and explore all they have to offer at insperity.com. Insperity, HR that makes a difference. Tradition Capital Bank is a local bank that has the products and capabilities to service middle-market companies, nonprofits, and their owners, employees, and families by offering a high-touch approach paired with customizable solutions. Think of them as your nimble ally serving with generosity, care, and precision. Tradition starts with the assumption that there's always more to learn, try, and discover, aiming to find the best yes for whomever they have the privilege of working beside. From a foundation of trust, Tradition takes disciplined, smart risks to help people grow beyond what they even thought possible. Tradition Capital Bank is the second largest privately owned bank headquartered in the Twin Cities and with locations in Edina, Wayzata, and North Oaks, Minnesota, alongside their office in Scottsdale, Arizona. Tradition Capital Bank is committed to big bank offerings with a small bank ethos. Let their team be the friend you need in your next financial move.
All right, we're back here with Liz Otteson. All right, we just heard about the Big Ten Rodent Tour, which I love that term. I will be using that quite often when I talk about you with other people and possibly make introductions. So you alluded to the fact that you went right after your undergrad, went into was it advertising, or you were account exec for an ad firm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not your jam, huh?
I really enjoyed it. Incredible, creative, smart people. I liked the work that I did as an account executive and being the liaison between the client and the internal teams. And I really liked the strategy. But advertising in the 80s, well, actually early 90s and probably the 80s too, was really intense and was 80, 90-hour work weeks, and especially at the lower beginning stages of the career, churn and burn, and very competitive in a lot of ways in terms of like who is shining, who is going to get the promotion, kind of how do you stack up in the rankings, not that there were any, but the kind of metaphorical rankings. And I liked trying to figure out how to win those kinds of games. It was like my new school setting. How can I wasn't asking how can I thrive? How can I really shine in this setting? And burned myself out really quick. Yeah. So it was interesting to look at women who were 5-10 years older than me in that environment. And the ones that I really admired for the work they did and the kind of people that they were did not have a life outside of work. And I knew that that's not something I could carry. But what really finally cemented the decision for me was I was supposed to go on a business trip and woke up and could not get out of bed. I had been getting migraines more and more frequently, like started once a month when I was a teenager, but it was like 3 times a week. And then my body just came down with bronchitis and I couldn't move. And I'm like, well, maybe I should listen to my body. Maybe it's trying to tell me something. And that's when I was like, I really do need to make a shift. So loved it. Glad I did it when I did it. Learned a lot, found my backbone. And also I I think it made me a better teacher having had some experience outside of the school setting.
Yeah. So you to get your master's in education. Where did you land to be an educator?
So I did my student teaching at a school in North Minneapolis, which kind of felt full circle after starting in North Minneapolis. And again, like the world of advertising, this place was chock full of people who were brilliant, creative, and really inspiring, and really, unlike advertising, very mission and purpose focused at a time when we weren't really talking about that so much. So I really enjoyed student teaching there and got a position there. And one of the things that made this school so special was it had a professional practice school. So for that first year of teaching, where it's normally like just baptism by fire, as first year teachers taught half time, and then the rest of their time was dedicated to professional development. So they would shadow master teachers, and then like within a day or two, they would sub for those master teachers for that class. And then that would release the master teachers for more of their professional development.
Yeah.
That was amazing to see so many different styles of teaching and things that worked and things that felt like they might fit. And then the other thing that was amazing about it was like my first exposure to co-working. They turned a classroom over to a shared office for, I think it was 8 of us in this office of all different disciplines. And so anytime you were stuck on something or you wanted some feedback on something, you just kind of shouted out like, "Hey, does somebody have a minute to bounce ideas off of or work through this with me?" And it really energized our teaching and also sparked a lot of, "Oh, you're working on this and I'm teaching this. So even though you're in English and I'm in social studies, there's a perfect intersection here." And so we could do some collaborative things and join each other's classrooms because we had this schedule flexibility. And so it was just a great collaborative environment. And the students, I taught students everything between ninth and 12th grade in the kind of the regular neighborhood program and in the international baccalaureate program. And so I had all this variety and a different class or different prep every hour of the day. And what that taught me and what I really leaned into as a teacher is each hour is its own microcosm, is its own culture, its own setting, its own puzzle of how are kids coming in and showing up today, and how do we create a space or a container that is going to leave room for creativity, for connection, for working together versus I was really kind of anti the competitive nature having come out of advertising. So that's where I taught at Patrick Henry in Minneapolis, which is now, I believe, Camden High School. And it was a great experience.
You know, you have a really unconventional approach to that thought process, right? Around collaboration, creativity, meeting students where they're at, on how they want to learn and things like that. How long did you teach for?
I taught for 7 years, then was home with our kids, and then went back to subbing and 1 year teaching positions for another 7 years after that.
All right, so 14 years total of education experience, you know, of being an educator in either a full-time or part-time capacity. So you've got a lot of experience. Let's just put it in the lot, quote unquote, lot of experience bucket. How many educators would you say that you've come in passing with through either your time at Patrick Henry or Camden now, or even people in your life that have kind of that same approach, or are my biggest concern is like the defeatism, right? Like the feeling of just feeling like I don't really know how to manage these students anymore. Like I think there's just so many different, you know, I got to stay within the constraints of how the school wants me to do things, the superintendent or whatever the school district is, all that other BS. How many people, what percentage do you think approach it the same way that you do from a thought process standpoint?
Percentage. I like that you trust the English teacher with a math question.
Completely arbitrary too. And that's what we're talking about, percentages. Everybody can wrap their head around that, whether you're English or math.
I would say when I was at Patrick Henry, that was at least 50%, if not more. It was a lot of young teachers. It was teachers who were drawn to this professional practice school. And so they were collaborative in the way that they were working with their peers. and also seeing the potential for that in their classrooms. And it was also at the University of Minnesota, the Johnson brothers were doing a lot of work around cooperative learning. And that was the first time that that was coming out with that language. I think there are elements of it in open and Montessori education. But when I returned after being home for 7 years, you'd think not that much has changed. But a lot was shifting in terms of leave no child behind and the importance of testing, and how that funded schools, and just lots more things being added on teachers' shoulders, all of which are really important and with the goal of helping each student succeed. But there was no additional time, and there were very few additional resources to make that happen. And that's part of the reason why I had to leave teaching. I really wanted a 0.5 position so that I could work full time for the success of my students and not make compromises for them, and also not make compromises with my family. But that just did not occur long term. And in that time frame, I feel like more and more teachers, and this is still the case now, have been pushed to more of that. Collaboration is an expensive investment in terms of time and energy. When you are pressured to perform on tests and objective measures, that's a really easy thing to push off the table. So I would say now, I know that there are a lot of amazing teachers that really try and fight and keep elements of that in their classrooms. So it's not by their choice, but it's by the pressures of a flawed system. It's a minority, a drastic minority.
Very well said.
That's my soapbox.
Oh yeah. You're the second person in about 3 podcast episodes that went on a soapbox about our broken education system. So I am a product of that broken education system. I turned out fine, but I don't think everybody turns out fine if you're not able to meet them where they're at, giving them the style of education that they need, because, dealing with some of the challenges that I deal with from a learning aspect, I just had to figure it out on my own. I just didn't figure it out until my 20s. So the faster that we can get kids to figure it out at an earlier stage. That's why I love programs like junior achievement and stuff like that are trying to help provide opportunities for kids outside of just the normal learning environment and stuff like that. There's my soapbox. Yeah.
I love it. Right. It takes the whole community, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. So, that's a big part of, so I want to segue into, I want to kind of dovetail a few things together. I want to segue into what you're doing now. Because going from an educator to then being a full-time mom and raising your family, and then going back to being an educator while being a mom and raising a family, and then obviously transitioning into what you're doing now, there's a common thread here. And I'm even as we're going way back, I'm even seeing a common thread of when you went to that first Bible camp, and so to me, I'm kind of feeling this journey kind of all kind of flowing together into what you're doing now. And you're making it abundantly clear that I want to make sure that we're touching base on those things. Share with me and the listeners what you do now. And, there's aspects of this that are, with what you do with CoLab, the role you play with the FRAK Conference here locally in the Twin Cities, but is also accessible nationally. And then with us with C9, share a little bit about what I would probably affectionately call your portfolio career.
Yes, I love that. Portfolio or patchwork. As you've heard me say already, variety is really my jam and keeps my work fired up and creative. And so what I do now is work with organizations to design small learning communities that really tap into the wisdom of their stakeholders and create more collaborative containers for each person to come in and share their unique gifts and partner with people who have complementary gifts. And that keeps lines of communication open. That creates more alignment in organizations and more engagement with customers and members and all of that. So that's kind of the bird's eye view of it. And what that looks like day to day, week to week, is doing things like facilitating our awesome C9 group. Shout out to Team Elmas. And it means with the FRAK Conference, designing what are these opportunities for connecting and building meaningful professional relationships, not just at the conference for 2 days, but heading into the conference and then long after that. So we have small groups or hives, we call them, that have a little light curriculum and facilitators. So in some ways, a lot like a C9 group, but also they last for a year and then we reshuffle at the next conference. So if people can't be there year to year and so forth, and it just allows for more relationship building. So it's all about like, how do we create these pods that feed us as professionals and as people?
And that's where I was talking about that dovetailing, right? Of like it's all, if you listen back to this, even you probably don't have a ton of the opportunity to share your story, right? In a format like this. But if you listen back to this, all of the things that you've done and all of the life experiences that you've had, all the way from when, you had to create your own community through, your parents' divorce and the building of two families blended together. And then that new world that you had from an education system standpoint, and then going to Bible camp and creating a new community there, creating communities through education, raising your family, that is a community, and you're probably integrated into a lot of communities. That is the term, one of the things that bums me out that the word community gets so overused, I think, but also in some respects, when it's used in the right way, it's magic. And I mean, that has been, to me, that is the definition of kind of your career trajectory or your path. Your journey has been just everything community focused. And I love the fact that you've just leaned right into it.
Completely. And it's, it hasn't always been easy. I mean, there's times where it's still not entirely clear what the next right step is, but it's been a gift to have the clarity of purpose to say, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm in a fortunate position where I don't have to chase the dollars first, because there aren't many organizations or businesses that have the line item in their budget for community building. Somewhat with culture, depending on the organization. But yeah, it's like, I had a very funny conversation with somebody who was flabbergasted when she asked, what is the length of your sales cycle? And I was like, oh, I don't even measure it. But it's probably like a year sometimes.
Yeah.
To like, from the initial conversations about how can we work together to becoming like on retainer or having a contract for a project.
Yeah, and I think, you're built for small business too, where I think, there's in small business, there is a natural community aspect of that. I think the big corporate entities create a bubble that they attempt to create communities, but I think it just kind of happens organically just because of the sheer amount of people, where in a small business, you got to be a little bit scrappy. So that just creates a little bit more intentionality around it. And frankly, a lot of the people that are responsible for this are HR leaders or people that are in leadership positions that it probably just isn't their core competency. And to be able to do this internally, I mean, I could see you being thriving. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like I could see you thriving in an environment of curiosity that is around like maybe sandbox initiatives, right? Like, hey, let's throw a problem on the table here that is a business challenge for us as an organization, bring people from different divisions, and then let's just figure this out as a group. And then let's have it and let's report it back to the leadership. The ROI on that for someone like for any small business to have you come and lead that is stupid, period. Right?
Stupid,
I mean,
brilliant, right?
Stupid, great. Yeah. Like, yeah, stupid, brilliant. Like, stupid, smart. It is so good to like make that investment. I just think that people are still wrapping their head around like how this can be facilitated. So I'm going to be the person to say this so you don't have to do it. But like, I think if there's an opportunity and you're thinking about like, hey, we've got some sandbox initiatives, or we're feeling like a little bit of lack of community in our culture and we want to kind of revitalize that or something like that, I think tapping on that LinkedIn profile in our show notes would be probably a pretty smart move if you want to get to learn about Liz.
Thank you for that, Aaron. Yeah, I will say, I love that you use the word sandbox. The other one that I use a lot is playground. It's how do we push back against the way that we're programmed to achieve, cross off all the tasks and create spaces where there is that permission to play and experiment and observe and iterate, all things that I loved doing in the classroom and in every environment sense. And when we do that in small businesses, in medium-sized businesses, that sparks innovation and fresh ideas in ways that are absolutely invaluable. And kind of the go-to that I've seen a lot in everything from education settings to corporate settings to nonprofit settings is, here's how we're going to do that. We're going to bring in a speaker. We're going to read a book. We're going to there's going to be some layer that's smeared over everything in a light way. And it has a spark, but there's nothing to kindle that into a fire that keeps us warm and connected and keeps those campfire conversations going. And so what I do is think about what are the systems and the practices that can keep that going and make it relevant to the work that you're doing, not an overlay, but something that's naturally ingrained to the workflow of your business, whether that's as a solopreneur or as a small business. And how do we keep iterating that so that it serves the individuals and the organization?
Ah, beautiful. I love the campfire analogy. That was very good. Yeah, you had that one locked and loaded. Well done. All right, we're running out of time here. I got 9 questions locked and loaded for you. We're going to jump into 9 questions here. Let's before we do that, I would be remiss if we didn't address your awesome family. Like you said, your mom first. So share a little bit about what your family dynamic is now and all that goes along with that.
All right. Well, my husband, Bill, and I are empty nesters, and that is a super fun journey. I think I originally had a little trepidation of, we've raised these awesome people and they can't leave us. How can they leave us? Who said they could do that? But Bill and I are really enjoying our time together. So he is like core of my family and best friend and all that. And then our daughter, Sylvia, is about to graduate from college. Go Badgers. She has not followed in my footsteps at all, but we happen to have graduated from the same place. So that's happening this weekend. And she is launching into the world of, she's going to be in the world of medical care and is going to be working at a clinic in the Twin Cities and gearing up to apply for PA school. So we're very excited for her. And our son, Harry, is at another Big Ten school. There's a theme in the family. He is at Indiana, and he's in the business school. So he's a finance and accounting major so far. And Bill loves that because he also went to Indiana. So there was no pressuring here. There was just lots of room to go wherever they wanted. But we do really like symmetry. And so,
and the Big Ten.
Yeah, and the Big Ten. And we are just, Bill and I are so blessed and happy that our kids are not just doing well with what they've chosen as post-secondary endeavors, but to see them form their own really great friend groups and figure out who they are as people and what they want to lean into. I'm getting a little teary-eyed right here, but like see them in their own community formation. Like they would be like, Mom, that's not what we call it. You're being just dorky about it. But like it's their interpretation of it. And they're in amazing relationships with other amazing young people. We're just excited for them and glad to be in the wings of their journeys.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Let's take a break here, and we're going to come back with 9 questions. I got 9 good ones locked and loaded for you. And listen to a few more of our community supporters. We'll be right back here with Liz.
Regardless if you're a startup just figuring things out or a medium-sized organization with a full team, having a legal partner by your side is crucial. Seiler Law is fiercely loyal to their clients and are passionate about removing headaches and roadblocks that can pop up during the growth of your business. Whether you need general outside counsel, are planning a business transaction, or even need someone to guide you through the estate planning process, the team at Seiler Law are the advocates for you. Visit seilerlaw.com to learn more. Seiler Law, where experience meets pragmatism.
Kaisa Wealth Management treats each client like a member of the family. Acting as your personal CFO, we are fiercely devoted to your financial prosperity. At Kaisa, our wealth strategies are aligned with your core values, creating a wealth plan centered around the legacies you wish to create. This is our Kaisa commitment. Our wealth strategies are dynamic and tailor-made for your long-term goals because as a family investment firm, excellence in service is not just a promise, it's our baseline. Whether it's selling a business, planning succession, creating a legacy, navigating life's changes like death and divorce, supporting executives on the move, planning for your retirement, or just preserving your family wealth. We are here for you. Find out how we can help to simplify your wealth at kaisawealth.com.
Barton, Walter & Cryer CPAs and Business Advisors is a full-service CPA firm providing premier accounting, tax, and consulting services to a wide variety of middle market and small businesses, primarily throughout the Twin Cities Metro and Upper Midwest. Drawing from diverse and varied experience with large Big Four organizations and boutique accounting firms, our team of CPAs and tax professionals delivers innovative, value-added solutions for our clients throughout personalized attention, diligence, and breadth of knowledge. From day one, we've built long-lasting relationships with our clients based on mutual trust and dedication to growth and long-term financial success. Our approach is client-centered. We make your goals our goals and deliver unparalleled service and support that exceeds expectations every time. Find out more at bwkaccounting.com.
Are you a business owner trying to get your sales to the next level? Have you tried things like sales training or swapping out your sales leader or even salespeople and that didn't work? If I described you, we would love to talk to you at Pivotal Advisors. Many times that sales growth gets halted because you don't have a good sales foundation in place. Your salespeople might not be chasing the right clients. Maybe we're not differentiating enough and really holding our value. There might not be repeatable sales process in place. Everybody's doing it their own way. Or possibly lacking accountability. I could go on and on. There's several different components to that. Without these proper elements in place, growth is really difficult. To learn more about how we can help you, please go to www.pivotalitadvisors.com and we would love to talk.
Security Bank and Trust has been a community supporter and the banking partner of Coalition9 since our inception. One of my favorite things about partnering with Security Bank and Trust is that I have a significant relationship at multiple levels within the bank. From grabbing lunch and building a personal friendship with the president, Andy, to welcoming multiple employees as C9 members, to seeing Andy's smiling face when I swing by the Eden Prairie branch, they get relationships and the banking needs of a business like ours. Check them out at security-banks.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Security Bank and Trust, growing together. When you think of a typical CPA firm, you probably think of tax planning. Well, that just scratches the surface of what Boulay offers their clients. By providing smart, in-depth thinking from experts in accounting, audit, tax, and business consulting, they know what it takes to achieve financial success. Whether it's protecting your business, building your wealth, or securing your future, you can count on Boulay to go beyond addressing just financial matters and providing you with tailor-made, workable solutions. Learn about all they have to offer at bouleygroup.com. Boulay, helping you get there. In addition to our amazing, prospering, and thriving level supporters, we want to shine a spotlight on our equally awesome evolving level supporters. Alliant, Bauer Design Build, Beyond Design, Cox Insurance, EOS, specifically Justin Cox, Tom Holleran, and Mike Jones, Madera Partners, Modern Foundation, and Sales Homie. All of the Coalition 9 community supporters can be found on our website at coalition9.com/community-supporters, or you can find the tab at the top. All right, we're back here with Liz. Liz, let's dive in here. Can you confirm to me that you have no idea what I'm about to ask you?
I have zero idea. I am literally on my toes. Ready. Mm-hmm.
All right. Name one song that comes on the radio. You got to sing it out loud.
Oh my gosh. By Take On Me by Aha. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
Back in 16.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Heck yeah. I know. I remember that video was fantastic. Do you remember that video? How do you forget that video? That video was revolutionary in like black and white into color and like into real and versus drawing. It was so good.
Oh yeah. And then the spoof on it where it's like the lyrics all describe the video and how nonsensical it is compared to what the song was. Yeah. And always trying to hit that high note and like just cringing and loving it because I can.
And nobody can. Like there's a few people in this world that can hit that note, but that is a very good. Yeah, I love that song. Good pull. Also going back, what was your first car?
Oh, okay. My sister and I shared a Ford Escort. Dingy gray, the most boring car in the universe. Mm-hmm.
Nice. You already said what year you were born. What year was that car? Do you remember what year that car was?
That had to be like a 84, I want to say.
Mid 80s. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. All right. Cool. If you could compete in one Olympic sport, summer or winter, what sport would it be?
Ooh. Ooh. Do I have to have any talent for this?
No, I don't. I could care less what it is. It could be anything. You name it. And it doesn't have to be anything that you're good at. It's something aspirational. It could be, we're talking about something, not real here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love it. Thank you for giving me this in fantasy. I
Yeah.
would do the steeplechase with
Oh,
horses.
boy. Yeah, I love that. God, see, people pull out the most random things. Steeplechase never would have been on my radar, and you brought it up. I love that.
I
Well done.
came off of the Derby, but yeah,
Yeah, good
I've
call.
always loved horses, and yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sweet. What was your favorite cartoon or TV show as a child?
Little House on the Prairie. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
yeah, that
loved the
was right
book.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Melissa
Yeah.
Gilbert.
Mm-hmm. And it was also like this wholesome, nurturing family that I could escape to when I was feeling like my family doesn't look like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
wondering about that in the back of my head. I'm glad that you said that. I was gonna ask that. I didn't know if I needed to go that direction. But yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. I love that you said that. The stability of that family was probably something a lot of kids were yearning for. So yeah. What is one of your hidden talents?
I am really good at making Christmas cookies.
Oh, nice. All right.
Baking Christmas cookies. Yes.
All right. I'll hold on. Let me make a note of that.
Make
Put
a
it in
note
my
of that.
calendar for right around December
December.
1st. Yep.
Yep. I
All right.
start in November, and I can't just make one kind of Christmas cookie or five kinds of Christmas cookie. I typically make 12 to 14. And then I like to compile them in trays and bring them around to neighbors.
I love it.
Mhm.
Love that neighborhood component of it too. Community.
Yeah.
Again, community.
Again, shocking.
If you could do something for a living other than what you do right now, or teaching, what would you do?
I would work at a garden store, which is
You're a
kind
big
of fun.
gardener?
I do have a garden. It's very shady, so I don't get to do vegetables or that sort of thing. Lots of hostas
I was
and
just say
ferns.
hostas. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. But it's funny that I said that because I actually have two plants and I have a number of houseplants, but two that I'm pretty sure I've come close to killing, and they're cactus. And I thought I couldn't kill those, but I clearly am doing something wrong.
Yep. Put them by the heating vent and keep them away from the window.
But okay, away from the window.
And by the heating vent, they need more heat. And don't
Yeah.
water them as much as you probably do. You're probably watering them too much.
I think I water them like once a month. Yeah.
Nope.
Okay.
That's like
Good.
once a
Yeah.
quarter.
Once a quarter. Okay.
Yeah. My mom was the CEO of the Minnesota Horticultural Society, a little nonprofit that is connected to the University of Minnesota Extension Office. So, and then my wife is obsessive compulsive about our garden. So all these things I hear through secondary conversation, and I just regurgitate them on my podcast. So it all works out. It makes me
I
sound
love
smart.
it. You are now my phone a friend for all things.
All right. And if I don't know it, I know two people to
I know
ask.
Mhm.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. What is your biggest pet peeve?
I don't have many. Okay. This goes back to my very first job that I got paid for. And I don't see it very often these days because fewer people are smoking. But when I see cigarette butts on the ground, because my first job was working for my mom and stepdad, they had a small motel, and my job was to go out in the parking lot and pick up the cigarette butts.
That would drive me nuts.
And I'm a
Gross.
big fan of, like, my motto is leave things nicer than you found them.
Yeah.
And that is not
good.
leave things nice.
No, it's not. I think times have changed a little bit in that respect. I think people are a little bit more conscious of where they're throwing their cigarette butts and stuff like that. But also, I think there's just a lot less smokers. So I think the world is
where I see
becoming
it
a little
most?
bit tighter in that.
I see the most on golf courses. I don't get it.
Yeah. I do see that a lot on golf courses. So let's take the inverse of that. So what is one quality in a person that impresses you?
A really good, specific thank you note.
Yeah.
It's like
I love
part,
thank you
like
notes.
the handwritten thank you note, like the
Yeah.
English teacher in me loves it. The community connector loves it.
Yeah.
Like just that thoughtfulness. And as I say that, I don't do it nearly enough. So
I don't think any of us do. I think the intent, like my intention is always there. It's just I forget or something like that. And I think I need to be a little bit more. I used to be better at it when maybe I had a little bit more bandwidth, but I think it just needs to be. You almost have to like Jimmy Fallon it, right? Like you got to carve it away on a certain day where Jimmy Fallon, I think, I don't know if he still does, and I haven't seen him forever, but Friday was his thank you notes day. Like
Yeah,
you got to have a day for it.
I'm totally doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you got to carve out the time. Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
All right. Who wants to
all
join
right.
me? Put it in the
Yeah,
comments
no
and we'll
kidding. Let's start a movement. I do my intros on Saturday mornings. Maybe I'll just throw in some thank you notes into that too. So I'll work on that'll be my Saturday project, is maybe writing a few thank you notes. I love that.
intentional, thoughtful, specific connecting. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, last one. These are actually you flew through these, so these are good, and you were snappy on your responses on every one, so you were prepared. If you could have dinner with one person that is alive on this earth, and it is not a family or friend or anything like that, who would it be?
Lewis Hamilton, Formula One racer used to
Oh,
be a Mercedes. This year
yeah.
he is to Ferrari. Oh
I
my
was going to
gosh.
say Ferrari.
He is, I mean, talk about like intentional connector, thoughtful, kind person beyond everything that he can do on the racetrack. Here's one example. During their summer break, he spends time in Africa, and the way that he amplifies and promotes these different communities that he visits through his platform, but also just the way that he engages while he's there, makes the world a smaller, more connected, more powerful place.
Hmm.
That, and he is incredible, like fashionista. I don't think that's probably the word that he would choose, but he was one of the co-chairs for the Met Gala, and
Oh,
every year he kills it. Yeah.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
and uses that as a platform for amplifying some young, creative, upstart fashion designer. So yeah, that would be fun.
I will say, I think we're on episode like 90 something over like a few years of this podcast. And I don't think anybody's ever referenced anything Formula One on any episodes. So you get the Formula One trophy for being an F1 fan and actually knowing who some of the racers are, which is fantastic.
Oh yeah. Well,
And
okay. I
the
have to give credit
intentionality
to
around it
others
too.
for this. My son Harry got us hooked on it during the pandemic, and my friend Stephanie is she and I. Well, if I got to have dinner with Lewis Hamilton, Stephanie would be invited because she turned me on to him in the first place. So
Sweet.
yeah.
Sweet. Well, I got to tell you, I was so excited to have you on the show, and you fully delivered. I feel like the story of your life has gotten us to this point, and I can only imagine what the future holds. I just consider it a gift for you to be integrated into our community. I know that the group, absolutely loves having you as a facilitator, and so I just want more people to know you. That's the whole reasoning behind this podcast. I think there's a lot of people that would just, I mean, flat out just love your personality and just get to know you as a human being. And then if there's synergies, then great. But otherwise, you probably could have an opportunity to make a bunch of new friends. So those of you that are listening, if you want to meet Liz, her LinkedIn profile is in our show notes. Is there any other way that people can get a hold of you besides LinkedIn?
They can learn more about what I do at collabcommunity.com, and that's collab with one L. And yeah, LinkedIn is a great place to start. And then we'll connect and have coffee, tea, walk, do whatever.
I love it. I love it.
This has been
All right.
so fun. Thank you so much, Aaron. I loved it.
You're fantastic, Liz. Well, on behalf of Liz, this has been the Power of Nine podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Eggert, and I want to thank you for the privilege of your time.
You've been listening to the Power of Nine podcast, hosted by Coalition9 founder and CVO, Aaron Eggert. This podcast is produced by Aaron Eggert and Brenda Harview, with editing by Brenda Harview. Our opening and closing graphic was created by Bethany Price, with video graphic animation by Jensen Studios. Special thanks to Coalition9's valued members and community supporters who help make this podcast possible. Connect with our supporters through coalition9.com/community-supporters. Thank you for tuning in to the Power of Nine podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to leave us a review and subscribe on your favorite platform. This is the podcast of Coalition9, a community of entrepreneurs and leaders changing business 9 leaders at a time. Learn more at coalition9.com. That's coalition and the number 9.com.